Welcome, one and all, to my humble office on this day. I appreciate you all taking the time to come and see me. It has come to my attention that we have a collective problem that needs dealt with. Public awareness that geography is everything has reached an all-time low. This saddens me to my core. So please, if you could spread the word on your tweeties and on your forums that geography is in fact the most important thing on the entire planet, I would be much appreciated, and you will have my undying respect. That skit was originally going to be way darker. I was basically just going to ask you to do a hit for me, but I thought maybe that was going a little bit too far, so I dialed it back a touch. All right, hey everybody, Tekking101 here, and welcome to the last of the Supernovas, or the Super Rookies, or the Worst Generation, whatever you want to call this series video. The last one I did was Hawkins, and I think that was back in like January, so yeah, it's time for me to finish this up. See, the problem is I waited till the very end to talk about Capone Bege, the Mafia Don. And I know this isn't really much of a Mafia Don hat. I had a bowler somewhere, but I lost it, so I guess we're going cowboy gang boss today, boys! No. So, I was gonna wait until the end of Totland to talk about Bege, because I was like, okay, alright. He's very prevalent in the Totland arc. We're going to wait to the very end, because maybe he might have some last-minute character development. That didn't really turn out to be the case, but I'm like, alright, I want to wait to see. The problem was, as soon as Totland ended, we had, Luffy's new bounty revealed, and then Shanks, and then Reverie kicked off, and all these all these old characters are coming back, new characters are being introduced, then you had the guy in the freezer with the giant straw hat, and then you had Shanks in the Gorosei last chapter. It's like, oh my god! There's so much crazy stuff going on here. I gotta talk about that. I really don't have time for Bege, but he's like, you know what? No, we gotta get done with this, so we can move on to like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet or like other characters of interest I want to discuss. And I kind of already handled this partly. I did a video on Bege's Shiro Castle Fruit, so you can go check that out here if you want a more in-depth look at his Devil Fruit. But for right now, let us talk about the man, the gang himself. And the gang epithet is actually very accurate in more ways than one. Obviously, the first time you'd see him, like, oh, he's a gang. He's like, oh, all right, obviously, he's a Mafia Don. He has all of his subordinates under him that call him father, and they'll do whatever he asks and take a hit out or cap anybody that needs to be capped, so to speak. But also takes on another name, because you see, he's sort of like the one-man gang in the sense of like, that was a wrestling guy, wasn't it? Whatever. He could turn into a giant castle. Alright? He is literally a one-man fortress, walking around with an entire armada of people inside of him, horses, you got swords, you got cannons, you got musketeers, ready to go to launch an all-out assault on anybody, no matter how much it looks like the numbers are stacked against him. He can turn the tables using his Shiro no Mi. But how about we start with his humble beginnings? He started his life of crime, as I feel most people start their life of crime, by working as a waiter in an Italian restaurant. I'm kidding, but am I really? Honestly, a lot of the stuff from Bege's past that we find out comes straight from the anime, not so much from the manga. In the manga, it was really just kind of glossed over really briefly. Jinbei's explaining to Luffy about the whole issue with the 5 families that ruled over the West, and, Bege is one of them, and then he became basically the kingpin of everybody there, got bored, and then went out to sea, founding the Fire Tank Pirates, and rose to prominence as one of the Super Rookies. That's really all we get in the manga, and then like a shadowy, image of Bege, with a gun and, taking out people in the West Blue. He was very ruthless. About as ruthless as you could be in a shonen manga. I mean, if One Piece was a seinen, I'm sure Oda would have went all Godfather with it. We're just gonna have a little bit, like one flashback chapter where we see Bege going around the West Blue, just gunning people down, sawing off horse heads, leaving them in beds, which, by the way, that was implied something he did in fact do. It wasn't like you didn't see it in the manga, but it was something like, yeah, that's something he did to intimidate his enemies. So that's straight from The Godfather right there. But no, in the anime, it's expanded a little bit more. We get to see him as a young man, how he was playing the field and everything, pretending to be this waiter, and all of a sudden, you know, oh, I'm gonna actually take out the head of this mafia, and I'm gonna take over the head of the family, and how he, you know, led other Mafia Dons into the line of fire, and how he was just this duplicitous but really intelligent guy that rose to be the king or the Don or the father out of all of the crime families in the West. Think of the crime families in the West, Blue, like the Diet Yonko. You know, like, honestly speaking, their power's probably not all that great, but remember, all the different Blues are pretty much sequestered from one another. You got the Red Line on either side, or on 3 sides, actually, and then you got a half of the Grand Line and the Calm Belts blocking your path. So if you're growing up in the West, Blue, honestly, you're probably not going to be moving to the north or to other parts of the seas. You're pretty much stuck wherever you're born, unless you become a pirate and you want to brave the Grand Line, or unless you're a Marine or a revolutionary or somebody that has access to a large-scale travel network. But pretty much, you know, you're born in the West, you're stuck in the West if you're a normal civilian. So, to the eyes of all the civilians in the West, these 5 families were probably terrifying. You don't want to piss any of them off, or if you're part of one, you're part of that family forever, and you can't turn against your clan. You know what I mean? So, yeah, Beige was part of that, and I wish we got more about the 5 families, at least what their names would be, you know? I don't know if they went by, like, the Fire Tank Gang back then, or that was something they just came up with when they began their pirate crew, you know? If they were just the, you know, his full name is Capone Gang Beige, or Beige, depending on how... I always try to avoid saying Beige, because I just think of beige. And I'm like, okay, no, come on, Capone is better than freaking beige if you're gonna pick a color to describe him, right? Yeah, so was his crime group, his family, just called, like, the Beige family, or like the Corleone family, you know what I'm going with here? Yeah, that's where he started. He got bored because he was just so prominent in the West Blue. He probably had all the money he could ever ask for, all the influence he could really ask for, but he probably got it into his head, a little bit of greed, you know? He's just like, you know, this is great and everything, but I feel like there's a bigger world for me to take over. I'm gonna head out into the Grand Line, boys, and bring back the treasure among all treasures. I'm gonna become the king of the pirates. Then I'm gonna rename the position to the King of the Dons. You know, or the King of the World, or something like that, you know? So, didn't really start out as a pirate, and I could totally see Beige as he's sailing the seas. You know, he's doing this a completely different way. He's like, he gathers his mafia together, his family, Vito and Goatee, and he gets them together. And maybe there was a few other people he picked up along the way, but I'm assuming the majority of his crew was just his mafia family, and there was nobody else after that. So they all have, like, already the level of respect for him, because, like, this is the man that, you know, took over all the crime families in the West Blue. I'll follow this man to the edge of the earth, you know? So that's probably the situation they have there with their father. But you can imagine, Beige, as soon as he gets the Nostello Castro together and they begin sailing the Grand Line, he, you know, gets in front of his crew and he's just like, all right, gentlemen, I want to make one thing perfectly clear here. I'm a cowboy! Yeehaw! No, he's like, we're not going to be doing the pirate life. We're going to eat eloquent meals. You're going to wash your hands every day. You're going to brush your teeth. You're going to swab this deck until it sparkles like a freaking fine china. We're going to do this professionally, sophisticated, like gentlemen. You can totally imagine that's how he did it. And many times you see him traveling around the sea, he's sitting there on his ship, you know, just casually enjoying a fine dining experience. You know, that's just the way he's always lived. And that's the way he always, you know, he refuses to meet with or have association with anybody that can't take care of themselves. So that's like, even though like in Totland, when time was of the essence, the Tea Party was looming, they were going to have a meeting to discuss, him and the Straw Hats, a meeting to discuss how they were going to take down Big Mom. You know, Vito's like, nah, you gotta clean yourselves up, guys. You don't even have a hope, Rero, of meeting the father, Rero, until you get cleaned up. Rero. Vito is an interesting character. I would like to see more of this guy. You know, just, okay, what's up with his hands, first of all? Did he eat the hand fruit and he just has giant hands? The tongue? there's a backstory involving this guy, and I'm not sure I want to know every little detail of it, but I want to know some details of it. Goatee, not so much. Goatee is just like, I'm the big tough, I'm the muscle of the family. I cut off my arm and replaced it with a chain-powered Gatling gun. Yeah, okay, you go, Goatee, that's awesome. But Vito, a little weird dude. Some stuff happened in his past. Alright, so he travels the Grand Line in all of his opulence and, you know, stopping at islands, probably taking them out. Let's teach them a lesson about how we do it in the West, you know? And they go into islands and they do their pirate shtick. Eventually they arrive at Sabaody. They're there in the little cafe restaurant area, and he's eating the fine dining that he's used to. Jewelry Bonnie's off to the side, scarf in her face, which is pizza, pizza, and that like made Capone sick to his stomach. He like slams his freaking food down. He's like, you know, how doesn't someone just go put a cap in that, you know, pink-haired, busty girl or something? You know, this is disgusting. And they're like, Father, we can't do that. We're pretty close to Marine HQ right now. So he's a smart guy. He's not really anybody that starts shit on Sabaody. I think in that instance, he was just trying to enjoy his meal, and, you know, Jewelry pissed him off because she's eating like a slob, and he's just like, you know, I can't even enjoy my meal while she's here. We need to kill her. But after a while, he's like, yeah, all right, it probably isn't a very good idea to get the Marines on our ass, so let's just leave. So he was actually very fortunate. He didn't run into any of the pacifistas, or Kuma, or Kizaru, or any of the heavy hitters during Sabaody. Instead, he's just walking around the island, and he encounters some normal Marine soldiers. Like, okay. And this was the moment we found out about his devil fruit, and at the time, it was one of the weirder devil fruits, because it was a devil fruit that was given no explanation. It just kind of happens, where he's walking by himself with none of his crew members around. The Marines see this, and they think, oh, you know, Beige, we're bringing you in. By the way, this is the old 101 shotgun from the Bleach reviewing days. The old school fans remember this. I dug this out of my room this morning. But anyway, yeah, they're like, you know, freeze, Beige, we're gonna pump you full of lead. And he's like, you guys are outnumbered. You guys are pretty stupid, don't you? Attacking someone with all these numbers. And they're all looking at him like, what? What are you talking about? You're one guy. And then that's when his devil fruit kicks in. So, Beige has the power of the Shiro no Mi, which allows him to become a castle human. A castle man, so to speak. Basically, it's a pocket universe he has inside of his body that just takes the form of a castle. Dining room, kitchen, large, immaculate, you know, studies, library, bathrooms, all of this stuff inside of there, decorated with pictures of himself and all this immaculate stuff. He probably just basically collected everything he had from the West Blue, and has a unique devil fruit that allows him to pretty much take his entire life with him wherever he goes. So a bunch of these drawbridges just open all over Beige's body, and his men, the fire tank pirates, just ride out on horseback. And what happens is, anytime someone goes into the castle, they shrink down so they can fit inside of him. But whenever they leave, there's like a perimeter, like only a few inches, like maybe a foot away from Beige's body. And as soon as they pass that perimeter, whatever they are, they return to the normal size. So you could take a cannon in Beige's chest, fire a little tiny BB, which is the cannonball. The second it hits that perimeter, it's going to expand back to the regular cannonball size and just continue onward and strike the opponent. So pretty much at any time, he has an entire army to call upon. The attack, you know, aspects of the Shiro no Mi are pretty impressive, but the defensive aspects are even greater, because he is a castle human. So he can literally make his skin the walls of the castle. So honestly, even if none of his men got involved in that interchange with the Marines, even if Beige just stood still and let the Marines just, like, pump him full of lead, he still would have been fine, because he could just raise the defensive capabilities of his devil fruit, and then none of the bullets would have been able to really damage him all that much. Obviously, if you're a really strong character like Big Mom, or if you have hockey or something, yeah, but I'm sure he could stop regular, you know, bullets just with his well, he could use Big Father, which could turn his entire body, makes the castle appear on the outside from the inside, but we've seen that he has strong defensive capabilities anyway, so he'll be fine. Also, he has another move called Castle Tank, which allows him to create tank treads in place of his feet, so he could speed away, and that's basically his retreating method, you know, and it's been pretty effective every time he's used it. to get away from a situation. He can move pretty fast with those tank treads, so yeah. Like I said, I made a video about the Shiro no Mi if you really want to go check that out in depth there. But yeah, so after the events at Sabaody, he manages to get away scot-free. He goes and stops at the War of the Best to kind of watch the end of the war. Shanks arrive along with all the other supernovas to kind of see the passing of this era onto the new one. And then with that being said, he sails into the new world. And the last time we see him before the time skip is he's sailing there, enjoying another meal aboard his ship, when all of a sudden some strange giant object, it kind of looks like a meteorite, it has like a rocky surface with a bunch of these little things jutting out, and then the gravitational force from this thing is so powerful it literally lifts up his ship into the sky and it crashes into it. Now later on we see the Nostella Castro during Totland, so the ship was repaired, it wasn't destroyed, but we have no idea what this thing is. And considering Big Mom really didn't have anything like this in her employ, obviously Beige ended up working for Big Mom later, but this was not the situation, because very clearly this is not Big Mom's doing. It might have something to do with a Sky Island or Eneru, because it involves gravity. People have thrown out Fujitora as a possible answer to what the hell this thing was. Other people are going the next level and saying it was an ancient weapon. I have no idea what this thing was. I want to say that it is related to the sky in some way, because it looks like just a giant rock with a very strong magnetic or gravitational force that pulls the ship up. But somehow they managed to get away from it, so I don't think it's like any kind of like world-ending device or something if Beige's crew managed to escape it, and their ship wasn't like permanently destroyed or anything. I just feel like it needs an explanation, you know? It was one of those things where Oda threw in at the end of the right before the time skip happened, where it's like, oh my god, the new world is so freaking crazy, you know, like Raijin Island, like an island with lightning rain, and the on-air pirates were on that spring island, they're running on air, like, what the hell, the new world is completely insane. And that's what Oda was trying to get across, and with the whole thing with, you know, Beige's crew. So, I don't know what that thing is, but you want to, you know, throw in your 2 cents in the comments below, go for it. So, at some point, he becomes allied with the Big Mom Pirates, with the plan of pretty much every other supernova had. I'm going to try to assassinate a Yonko. That seems to be a running theme. They get into the new world and they all pick out a Yonko and they try to seep into their organization and become part and a trusted member of their crew, and then they try to figure out a way to cap the bastard, or the bitch in Big Mom's case. So yeah, Beige teams up with Big Mom. He rises through the ranks of her crew, eventually getting the vaunted Rook position. So now he feels like, yes, I'm at a high enough position where she trusts me with like security issues and everything like that. She knows I won't mess with her. Maybe he's killed a few people on her behalf in the past. You know, Beige obviously has no qualms about that, being a mafia boss. So he gets to that level and then he decides, you know, I'm going to try to take her out. You know, watching and waiting, see where she's most vulnerable, and that's where the whole Big Mom assassination plot comes into play. So we see him in Totland and in the Zou arc as well. He takes out Peckham's because, you know, he was having so much sympathy for the Straw Hats and the whole issue with, you know, Peckham's, his home being Zou, and the Straw Hats saved it. But Beige's like, no, screw this. Your sentimentality is not what Big Mom wants. You know, we're here to do a job. So he guns down Peckham's. Kind of confused by that, because doesn't Peckham's have a turtle shell on his back? He could just... that always bugged me. I guess he caught him off guard or whatever. He didn't have time to, you know, summon the turtle shell. But anyway... it's at this point where he invites Sanji and Nami, Brook and Chopper and everybody into his castle. That's when he presents Sanji with the invitation to Big Mom's tea party and tells him, you know, why you don't refuse an invitation from Mama's tea parties. And so, sure enough, Sanji agrees to go with him. He, you know, manages to get Nami and Brook and Chopper freed. And then Nekomamushi shows up, and then Beige just decides to get the hell out of Dodge. So he goes castle tank and escapes with Sanji in tow. And so we see him a few other times throughout the earlier portions of the arc. We know he's there in Totland. We know he's doing stuff. He has a plan, but we don't know what it is yet. Like I said, Beige is straight up cold-blooded. Like that scene where he shot Peckham's at point-blank range and knocked him into the ocean, he wasn't being nice. Peckham's did survive that just because the Sun Pirates happened to be in the inlet below and managed managed to save him. But Beige didn't know that. Beige wasn't part of that. He straight up, you know, was like, I'm gonna kill you, Peckhams, and then shoots him, and then he's like, okay, he's dead. Let's go, you know, plan some other stuff out for how we're gonna deal with the whole Big Mom thing. You know, so straight up cold-blooded dude. He's not a great guy, all right, but hey, he wears it all on his sleeve, his impeccably tailored silk suits or whatever. He's like, hey man, I'm a mafia boss. It's what I do. And that was perfectly encapsulated at the time when he shows up at Cacao and you have him, you know, appear with the gun and you're shooting down Oven and everything, and Pez is in the background, his son, and he's like, take a look, Pez. This is the way your daddy lives. You know, it's just a fast life. You know, he shoots people that disrespect him or any of his enemies. He has no qualms about that. It's just who the guy, that's just who the guy is, you know? Take it or leave it right there. You know, he's kind of the guy you love to hate to a certain extent. While being part of the Big Mom Pirates, he also marries Chiffon, who is Lola's twin sister. I believe she's the 23rd daughter of the family, or the 22nd. I always forget. I think Chiffon is the older of the two, so she would have been the 22nd daughter. But yeah, they get married, and here's something. You know, it's not like a political marriage. I mean, it was at first, maybe, but you can tell that Beige really does love his wife. You know, family is something obviously very important to him, you know, being Italian in general. And listen to Caesar Zeppeli from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency if you want an idea on why the Italians view family as so important. But also the fact, you know, he's a crime boss as well. But hey, Chiffon is his wife, and he treats her with a lot of respect. He listens to all of her input. You know, Oda could have really written him like an asshole. He could have been like, you know, I'm a badass gangster. Shut up, woman. I'm doing what I want. But no, he's like, he takes her input for things and listens to her when she's talking. Like when the whole cake issue was going on. He's also a very direct guy because they have a cake and he's thinking rationally like, Big Mom's gonna eat that cake. Okay, how about we poison the shit out of it so she eats it, then she dies. And, you know, that's what a lot of people in the fandom were thinking too. I mean, that's obviously not how Sanji rules, but we're sitting there like, yeah, Sanji, we know that's not how you do it. You know, pride as a chef and everything, but, this is probably your only chance to kill a Yonko, so, I mean, if there's ever a time when you could shelve your chef pride, this would solve a lot of problems, just saying! But no, of course, Sanji's like, no, Beige, we're not doing it, and he gives him a spoonful of the cream, and he gets all, oh my god, it's so delicious. And then Chiffon is there, and she's like, you know, Beige, honey, you gotta have faith in Sanji, and have faith in me too, have faith in our sweets. And he agrees to go along with it. He's like, all right, but after she eats the cake, I'm capping her ass, you know, basically. So yeah, that was a cool moment. They have a son together, Capone Pez, who also sports a 5 o'clock shadow at the tender age of, like, I don't know, 7 months. But yeah, he's a baby, so there's really not much we could talk about him. But you know, cute kid, I guess, kind of. He's got a pacifier that's shaped like a cigar because, of course, being a mafia boss, he has to smoke, you know, he has a nice box of Cuban's finest cigars every day. Well, no, it's One Piece. So what would be the One Piece equivalent of Cuba? Someone get back to me on that. But kind of going back to what I was talking about with the cake and the way he acted, you know, he sees the situation and he formulates a plan that would be the most effective in that situation. It shows that he thinks very clearly and he doesn't let his emotions rule him. All right, this is a major contrast with Luffy, who is very much ruled by the way he thinks, like, in the moment and everything. So for an example, when they were having that meeting, obviously Beige, he's humble enough to know that he needs help with this operation. This isn't something, like, they might be able to do it on their own, but having more people working under him that are also very strong, like the Straw Hats, he definitely is open to that. So he's humble enough to be like, all right, Straw Hat, come here. Have a discussion with me on our plans, you know? Also, remember what happened when they were at the meeting? They were at that meeting. One of the first things that Luffy does is basically like, you know, let me punch you in the face. You know, he's like, let me punch you in the face, or I'll listen to you, or let me punch you in the face and I'll agree to hear you out on your operation or your plan or anything like that. And of course, everyone in the Fire Tank Pirates, you know, pulls out, they're like, the hell you are. But Beige is just kind of like, he's a chill dude, and he's just like, And he's thinking, and he's just like, I take a punch in the face, and he listens to my operation, and we have a chance to take down a Yonko. Pretty fair to me. All right. It's fine. Go ahead. So, you know, he's somebody that's like, he's kind of playing Luffy. Because Luffy at that moment was really pissed off about all the stuff that Beige did to, like, Pecoms and everything. So, he's like, I'm gonna punch you! Ruled by his emotions. Beige, though, was like, all I have to do is let this idiot punch me and he'll listen to what I say? My god, that's like, this guy's gonna be kind of easy to manipulate. Yeah, sure, go ahead, do it. I don't give a shit. One punch and we can take out a Yonko. I think that's pretty fair. So, yeah, see how it is? He's a planner. He's a devious little guy. Now, little guy. He's actually the shortest of all of the Supernovas. Although, this is something that is kind of inconsistent, because when he was first introduced, I believe his height was listed at like 5'5", which is not much short. He is literally about the same height as me. Okay, I'm extremely short. I don't know if you guys ever really, well, I guess not extremely short, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm not very tall, and whenever people do meet me in public, like at conventions or anything, that's one of the first things that they kind of mention, like, wow, you're short. I'm like, yes, I've been saying that for a while. Why didn't you believe me? He's like, yeah, but you're like, how tall are you? Like 5'5.5". Yeah. But so that's Beige's height when he was first introduced. But later on during Zou, he seems to be like the same height as Sanji, who's like 5'11". So I don't know if that's an inconsistency there, or if he grew or used his devil fruit powers in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. But yeah, he normally when he was first introduced, he was the shortest out of all of the Supernovas, right? So yeah, they have the plan to go and assassinate Big Mom, and he lays it all out. He's like, you gotta destroy the picture of Mother Caramel. She falls, she screams, she's vulnerable. We take out the KX launchers, which were made by Caesar. He's a huge, I mean, he manipulates Caesar as well, but very directly with the heart thing. You just like, I'll squeeze your heart. But I'll give it to him. He's loyal, and he is a man of his word, because after the whole situation was over, even while they were still in the thick of it, and the operation failed, and Big Mom was after them, and all of her rage and fury and hunger, he still honored his agreement with Caesar, gave him his heart back, and now Caesar's a free man. I was thinking for a moment that he would have been like, Caesar, you screwed up. You screwed the pooch, Caesar. And just crush his heart and kill him, because he's that bloodthirsty of a guy. But no, he's like, you have my word, Caesar Clown. You do this operation, you make this KX launcher for me, and you see the operation through to the end, and I'll give you your heart back, and you're free to go. And sure enough, that's what he did. Or maybe that's why he just didn't want him around anymore. Gangsta Gastino! Like, oh god, just get out of my crew. You're harshing our vibe, man. But, yeah, so after the whole operation, though, goes belly up, and the KX launchers fail, he decides to get away, and thankfully for him, most of the Big Mom pirates were going after the Straw Hats and Jinbei rather than him. So he had a few tart ships to deal with, but nothing he couldn't handle, and he was honestly about ready to get away when the whole situation with Sanji and Pudding arriving, like, hey, we need Chiffon to come and help make this cake, and they're like, oh, we can get away, but it's like, okay, fine. And he's like, you know, Chiffon wants to go do this. And Beige, you know, could have just left his wife behind and been like, oh, you know, screw you. I was only married to you because of Big Mom anyway. We'll leave you behind. But he doesn't do that. He's a very loyal husband. He's like, all right, screw it. You go make the cake. We'll back you up. Let's do it, guys. You know, it's pretty cool. Even after the whole situation, they take the cake on board their ship, and they're like, let's drop it off at Liqueur, and they're like, let's drop it off at Puff's Island, and they put themselves in the freaking line of fire for that. Now, granted, at that situation, that was less about Beige being compassionate toward the Straw Hats and more about being compassionate and listening to his wife, but still, it shows that he's not a coward, he's not afraid to run from danger. It's just like, we tried this assassination, it didn't work, it failed, she's still alive, and she's coming after us, we have to retreat and try another day. But he's not a coward. It's like, if he manages to get away, which he did, he managed to get out of the territory, scot-free basically, maybe a few casualties, their ship got damaged, but they got away scot-free for the most part, and I have no doubt in my mind that he might very well try this again. He's like, we tried to take her out, we know what happened, we see where we failed, and we can improve, and we might be able to do this again. In fact, while Big Mom is out there chasing after the Straw Hats, we could take her, stab her in the back when she's least expecting it. You know, something like that. Who knows? We'll see what Beige comes up with. Also, after the whole Totland arc, I guarantee you Beige's bounty went up buku. I mean, not probably as much as Luffy, because Luffy kind of got glorified as being like one of the ringleaders of this whole operation. That's what like the covers of all the newspapers were saying. So Luffy's bounty went up an entire billion berries, from 500 million to 1.5 billion. But Bege's bounty, I forget what it was before the time skip. It was like 100 something. It really wasn't that high. I think he was like the second lowest right after Rouge and Bonnie. But after the time skip, he was 300 million, which was Luffy's before the time skip. So it was pretty impressive at 300 mil. I would say his bounty could be a good solid 7 or 800 million right now. They boosted it about 500 million, 800. I could see it 800 million. I don't think he hit billion levels yet, but I could see him now, considering he was still part of this whole situation, and I'm sure the newspaper mentioned him, just not as much as he would like. Like, Straw Hat Luffy takes on Big Mom in assassination plot. And then, like, where am I at? And then right down at the bottom of the page, it's like, also, Capone Gang Beige and the Fire Tank Pirates participated as well. Damn it! Yeah, I can see his bounty going up a little bit as well. And we're probably not going to get a lot from Beige in the future because he was a supernova that we just focused on very prominently. The Straw Hats are now going to Wano, where we know that Kid and Hawkins and Apu are located. X-Drake might be there as well because he's also allied with Kaido, who is in Wano. So we're probably going to focus on those supernovas next. And you kind of see what Oda's doing a little bit, where you introduce the supernovas before the time skip, and then after the time skip, he starts to have the supernovas appear as like, side, like not side characters because they are prominent, but like more like part of the main cast during that specific arc. Like, he introduces Law because obviously Law is the coolest during Punk Hazard, and Law was a very central figure in Punk Hazard. Dressrosa, not so much. It was still very much Law there, but then we get to Totland, and now Beige is also a huge part of this, so we get to find out more about him. And in this next arc, I'm sure it'll be Kid, Apu, Hawkins, and possibly X-Drake that we'll focus on, because Wano is just going to be huge. Don't know if we're going to do this with every single supernova, but I hope we could. I want to find out more about Bonnie and what's going on with her. Not just because of boobs, but, okay, fine. But yeah, that's the situation with Capone Beige. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know I did. So yeah, that's the Supernova series, guys. Stick a fork in it. It's done. Next up, I'm gonna do the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. But I also just kind of want to get to the point where I want to talk about whatever One Piece character I want to discuss, I did the Straw Hat series for so long, and then this series took longer than I expected. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about, like, Bartolomeo and Cavendish and Hyrudine and everybody like that. But I also want to make videos about just, like, really fan favorites. I want to make a Smoker and Tashigi video. I want to make a Kobe video. I want to make a video just focused on, like, Dragon, his character alone, just Ivankov, just, specific character discussions of that nature. So look forward to those in the future at, like, a random interval. We're not really going to be doing this, like, in a series basis at the moment. I just kind of want to talk about whoever I want to talk about for right now. So, and Kinemon, too. That was another one I was planning. But anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I greatly appreciate you stepping into my office on this day, and remember to spread the word about geography is everything. It's extremely important. The world needs to know. Signing out.